everybody else, once again, they walk away without the prize. And like I said, it's because they value the big bombers and the bats more than they do the pitching. And it's just another year. The other thing, and we'll see if the Dodgers can pull this whole thing off, how many years are they going to win the NL West and then not complete the project? So they got a little time. We'll see if they can pull it off. But for me, Yankees, biggest disappointment as always. And if the Dodgers don't win this whole thing, being that they have all the tools, everything you're supposed to have, all the ingredients, and you still can't make the meal properly, it'll be a big disappointment for them.
And Eileen loves that. She loves that the Dodgers are struggling right now. Yeah, you win 8 straight NL West titles, but you have no world championships to go behind that. Hey, what's it all for then if you can't win a championship, if you win a division every year? It's not to win a division. That's great, but the ultimate prize is to win that world title, and they don't have one.
Mm-hmm. Is that your surprise, Ed, Cole?
No, my surprise is like you, the Marlins, the fact that they lost 105 games last year. They came back here, had that whole COVID outbreak after their first road trip of the season. It looked like their season was pretty much on skid row, but they came back and they fought back. They made the playoffs, ran up against a buzzsaw in the Atlanta Braves. But for the fact that they made it, and like you said, San Diego has a relevant baseball team now. They've got some exciting players there. Fernando Tatis Jr., love that kid. Manny Machado, love that kid. It sucks that Mike Clevenger didn't really get a chance to play in the playoffs after the Padres made that deal. I would have loved to have seen what he could have done in the postseason, but still, for the fact that San Diego gave LA as much as they could during the regular season and they made it in the postseason, that's great. And for you, Ed, yeah, I would have liked to see the Yankees. It would have been Yankees, Dodgers. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people would have loved to have seen the Yankees and the Dodgers, but to see Tampa Bay knock them out, and Tampa is relevant each and every year now. I love to see new blood come out of the American League East. It doesn't always have to be the Yankees and the Red Sox. Now we see the Tampa Bay Rays. Toronto made the playoffs this year with the expanded roster. So now we're seeing some new blood come out of the American League East, and that's good to see.
Yes. Am I next? Yes, I absolutely love what's happening to the Dodgers, but I'm also now getting a little nervous, not gonna lie, but I want to have as much faith as Dave Roberts has in his players, because, and as the team has on Dave Roberts, like how many times is he going to take his team to the, postseason? And if they lose this season and he's still a coach, oh my goodness, like, come on. But I'll get into Dodgers later because, I love trash talking about Dodgers, but that's because, I am Diamondbacks, D-backs, and my biggest surprise, it has to be the Padres, because in our division, I thought, I didn't even count the Padres. I was like, as long as we get through the Dodgers, and I have to admit, I thought, the Diamondbacks were going to do better this year, but turn of events, that didn't happen. My biggest surprise was Dodgers and Marlins. Like you said, I'm going to have to agree with you. Marlins, we didn't even expect to even come back after the whole team got infected, and then they got the other team infected. They were in quarantine. It was a mess. And, they showed up and they said, no, we're doing this. We are doing this. And I'm so glad for them. And the Padres, they showed another part of baseball that we had missed, and I think it's what made this a little bit more exciting too. It was that whole unwritten rules part of baseball. Let the kids play, hit until the last out, like, you got this. And I love that about the Padres, their fighting mentality all this season. So biggest surprise, Padres and Marlins. And hopefully, like we said with the Dodgers, they stay there. and the Braves can go advance to the next one.
I'll say I agree with that, Smith. Totally. Biggest disappointment has to be the Yankees. Like, they went out and got Garrett Cole for this reason. Like, this is why you bring in a big name like that. And even with the big boppers and they're not all healthy all the time, and they still couldn't get it done. So I think it is a big disappointment for them. I agree with you guys on all the other ones. The AL Central had a really good year. I thought the Twins, Indians, and White Sox were all really good, but none of them really did anything with it. I'm going to go with biggest surprise as Atlanta. Even though they're usually in it, they've been dominant this postseason. I think they were 7-0 before they lost to the Dodgers the other day. And they're bringing up guys that are making their postseason debut and just shoving when they get up there. So I'm impressed with Atlanta. I have to admit, sorry, I am a Dodger fan. I'm in SoCal, so I did grow up even though I played in the Diamondbacks organization, still grew up a Dodger fan. So I am rooting for them. But totally agree with you on Dave Roberts. He's too loyal to Kershaw and Kenley Jansen, way too loyal. And they got a better bullpen this year, so why not use it when you can? So, but yeah, I think Atlanta, I have to say, even though they're usually in it in the playoffs lately, they've been one of the hottest teams in baseball this year.
So, Brett and Eileen, the question, let's throw the elephant in the room. If the Dodgers do not advance and beat Atlanta, is Dave Roberts done?
He should be. He needs to be.
He should be. He should be done.
Yes.
I agree.
Come on.
I know, it's been too long. When you have that much talent, you got 2 MVPs on your team. Like, at some point, I know he's not up there hitting, of course. He's not pitching either. He's the manager. But a lot of, I would call it just mismanaged situations that he's been out-coached by the other team or the other manager. There's too much of that over the years, and I agree with you, Ed Cole. They've been knocking on the door too many times to not succeed.
I was saying if the Dodgers lose again, he's got to leave, because I said he loves leaving those lefties in for too long, and he did not learn his lesson after those back-to-back home runs that eliminated the Dodgers last year with Kershaw. So it happens the same thing again with Dodgers. Bye-bye, Roberts. Bye-bye.
All right, Ed Smith.
Yeah, for me, I think he's definitely got to go if they once again falter, because you can only go to the well so many times. We love to see you win that division, but if the division title is your goal, then you're in the wrong place, in the wrong business. And it's, they remind me, Brett, of those Braves from the 90s. Remember? Yeah. They had more talent, pitching, everything you can imagine, and to walk away, I think, with one World Series title, every one of those guys will tell you it was a disappointment, even though every year you were experiencing success. But, if you, like I said, if it's all about the division titles, and you're in the wrong business. So I'm sure, a lot of people won't want to hear that his job is on the line if they don't win this, but it is. And, patience only goes so long. And like I said, it'd be one thing if they didn't have the talent and they were just scuffling to try to, they go out and spend more money. And that's why, like, the Diamondbacks, and I'll agree with Eileen, the Padres, what they did this year, they finally went out and spent some money, and we all thought they were crazy. It's like, oh, you're going to go get Machado, and they actually, showed me something, whereas the Diamondbacks, they had garage sales and fire sales and stuff like that going in the complete opposite direction. But to compete with the Dodgers, you're going to have to spend money, and the money they're spending, they're not getting a great return on their investment. So maybe it's the leadership that's in question. And like I said, he might be the one that pays the price if they don't win it all this year.
There's a lot of stake for the Dodgers after the postseason, that's for sure. And since we're talking Dodgers, let's go ahead and go right in and just what the postseason has been for the Dodgers. Let's dive a little bit more into that, and what and a little bit of what I see and one of the struggles, which is time and time again, and when they make it to the postseason, they're not able to make it to the World Series. We'll see if this year is their year. But once again, they're struggling. And we had talked about this on Tuesday, and Ed Cole and Eileen, was their pitching. How that's a constant struggle as they go in and the deeper they get into the postseason. Yes, they have Kershaw. He's a great pitcher. He struggles in the postseason time and time again. They have Jansen, another major struggle that cannot push through. And those are only a couple of the factors, or the major factor, and a couple of contributing to the pitching that does not get them to that next level. What has to change for them to be able to get to the World Series and be able to get all the way? What do you guys see from the Dodgers that's keeping them from getting to that World Series title?
I think it's partial. Walker Buehler is great too. And I thought the 60-game sprint for Kershaw would be perfect. He wouldn't have to deal with, of course, he had the back issues like a couple of days ago, but I thought it'd be perfect for him because he usually throws, a ton of innings, and by the end of the year, he's probably gassed out, and they have too long of a leash on him. But they haven't been able to find the third guy, the third starter. They let Ryu go last year. They had Rich Hill last year, and they let him go, and they've had Greinke over the years. I don't think they've been able to get the third guy in the rotation. Even Maeda, who was great last year, they let him go too. So I think they've they've kind of fixed their bullpen other than Kenley Jansen. They've gotten some other dudes in there this year that have been really good. But if you're just talking about pitching-wise, they just don't have the third starter that they can count on that's consistent. They got the young guys coming up now like May and Gonsolin, who I think are going to be really good down the road. But right now, they don't have that third starter. And obviously, offensively, they're great. No complaints there. But I think, somewhere in the pitching, it's lacking.
For me, this is one of those, how can you expect different results if you're going about it the same way all the time? And we're looking at what the Dodgers are doing. It's the same cast of characters doing the same thing year after year. Kershaw gets to the postseason. He freezes up like a deer in the headlights. Jansen, he's never as reliable in the postseason as he is in the regular season. And with that old definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. So, and you guys really bring up a great point, both Brett and Eileen. I never thought of it this way when you're talking about Roberts. He really is overly, I guess, faithful to these guys, and he keeps putting them in the situations, and they keep letting them down. Eventually, it'll cost this man his job. So it's just one of those things. I just think that's the biggest problem. They got the same dudes doing the same thing at the same time of year. And once again, here we are. So we'll see if they can correct it right now. But that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, you don't hear about Newton. You bring up great points too, Brett. The people that they've let go were probably some of the dudes that could have been clutch for him in some of these certain situations. Yet we have the same cast. And how can you expect a different movie if you're using the same actors in the same roles?
It's like Groundhog Day, right? Once they hit that postseason, I saw a stat the other day about Clayton Kershaw. 11 times in his postseason career, he's given up 4 or more runs in the postseason. That's amazing for a bona fide Hall of Famer, a guy who dominates during the regular season. But once October hits, once that postseason hits, something goes off in his head, and he's a different person. And Jensen's a different person. Up and down that offense, I mean, those guys can score with the best of them. They've got talent for up and down that lineup. My goodness, I'm just looking at what they're doing to the Atlanta Braves in Game 6 right now. They're up 3-0 in the first inning, so they can score runs, but it's up to that pitching. It's crazy. They scored 15 runs in Game 4, I believe, and then Game 5, Atlanta comes out and just busts them up 10-2. It's just so inconsistent with the Los Angeles Dodgers with the level of the talent that they have. They started off 5-0 in the postseason until they met those Atlanta Braves, and then that's where the struggles came. Because you met your match with the Atlanta Braves. They're going to go stride for stride with you, bat for bat, hit for hit, pitch for pitch with you. And if you don't have a way to counteract that, if Dave Roberts can't counteract what the Atlanta Braves are doing, then they're going to be out. They may lose tonight. They may lose Game 7. And then there's another year when they have no chance of winning a world championship. And like Ed said, that may cost Dave Roberts his job.
Well, how everybody said, same guys, same things happen, but we just got to get rid of the manager. Come on. We got to get on the same boat with me, everybody on this panel, because that's the only thing, that's what needs to change if the Dodgers want to advance and actually win a World Series. And we might start looking into some kind of curse that the Dodgers had, because how is it that they can have the best team? I mean, they got Mookie Betts from all the way across the country. We brought him in. He was taking, Hollywood, and was just bomb after bomb. Great guy, great offensively, defensively. He's a great guy. Dodgers are full of stars. They're full of stars, yet they can't win or they can't make it to the World Series. Maybe they do again, but they might lose again. Because like I said, the decisions they make with the great players are what's holding them back from getting that trophy. I mean, the bad decisions of Dave Roberts again and again with these great stars. I mean, come on, when is it going to stop?
Joe, let me jump in on that real quick, too. Also, a couple, going into this against the Braves, Kershaw's owned the Braves in the last few years. He's 7-0 before going into this series. So he had the Braves number for a while. But I did see another stat the other day where from the 6th inning on, Kershaw's got the worst ERA among the pitchers that qualify. It just starts to take a turn. That third time around the lineup when you see these guys again, I think Dave Roberts has to know that. Look, after the 5th inning, that's enough. If you give up 1 run through 5 for Kershaw, that's good enough. We have a better bullpen now. Let's turn it over to the bullpen. But too loyal, too faithful, like we've been saying, and it, like we've all said, it could cost Dave Roberts his job if they don't get to the World Series.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is that it's not really their players and who they have, but it's more of